Welcome to Rachel Uncensored, one of the few places on the internet that you can find it unverted. How did I mess up my intro? I've done the wrong intro before, but I don't think I've ever fully messed it up in that manner. One of the few places on the internet that you can find an uncensored version of me. Hi, I'm Rachel Ballinger, and welcome back to another solo episode. Last week, we had my beautiful, amazing, perfect girlfriend, Miss Abigail, and you guys seem to like her. I need you to keep that energy up, because the more you shower her with praise, the more likely she is to do something, which is to come back on. She'll come back on the show whenever I ask, but I'm always like, they loved you. And then she's like, oh, really? And she's more likely to come back on. You know, you know how that works? Give a little praise, do a little thing, get down tonight. Bum, 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 get down tonight. Sorry. Blaze, can you settle, please? I'm not joking. Animals sense right when you need to get up and right when you're about to start something important. The second I'm on the couch for like an hour, and then in my mind, I'm like, okay, in 2 minutes, I need to get off this couch and go shower or go work out or do my work, whatever. I got a long list of things I need to do. Everybody does. We're adults. And right when I think that, my cat Stevie goes, yes. What a perfect time to come saunter onto your lap and take a nap. And she jumps on me and is all cute and cuddly and purring. I'm like, I was literally just about to get up. What the fuck? And then Blaze, he's sleeping like a prince on his bed. He's not doing anything. And then I'm setting up. I'm doing stuff. I've been sitting here for like 20 minutes at this desk. And the second I hit record, he's like, yeah, I got to go sniff around. I got to go panter. Is that a word? Panter? Is panter a word? What does it mean? If it is a word, what does it mean? To panter. A leopard. That's okay. So I made up that word. You're welcome. Anyway, hello everybody. You guys ready to jump on in? Let's do the dang thing. We're going to start with the joke of the day. Why did the employee get fired from the calendar factory? I don't know. Why? Because he took a day off. You can't take a day off the calendar. That wouldn't make any sense. You get it? I love a calendar. I freaking love a calendar. I never keep up with them, except my work calendar that's dry erase and the one on my phone. But I love a good calendar. I have one in my gym. I actually keep up with all of them, except if I have a calendar just for chores, I will often forget about that. But they come in handy. They're so nice. It makes me feel organized and prepared and capable. I'm like, yeah, I can do this. I've written things out. I can get it done. The world can't stop me. And then I forget about them in like a month. But when I find it again, then I'm just as enthusiastic as the first time. I love it. Get me a calendar. My sister gets me one every year for Christmas. And I'm always excited. There's like a staple presents that I'm always going to be stoked about. Socks, always a good one. Calendars, knives. You can never have too many of these things. Some might disagree, but I don't. I was thinking, I always do this. I go on like random thoughts of, what if I woke up in my 8-year-old's body and I had to act like I was still 8 years old and I couldn't tell anyone? I don't know why. I do not know why. I always have these thought processes where I'm like, what if I woke up and I had to relive high school years again, but I couldn't tell anyone, and I'm like stuck in my body, but I have all the knowledge I have now. And every time I go, man, the way I would ask for stocks and savings accounts and just money or useful things for Christmas instead of the stupid toys I played with once and threw it away. Okay, I was extremely thankful for all of the toys my parents bought me. But kids are dumb, man. They're not preparing for the future. But then I was like, oh, this is seriously the stupidest thought process, the stupidest thing I'm constantly thinking about. You know how like people have reoccurring dreams? I have these reoccurring thoughts of what if I woke up and it was 20 years ago or whatever. And for some reason, I'm always like, I'd stop asking for toys, but I'm like, wait, if I couldn't let anyone know that I wasn't a kid, but I still had to act like a kid, I'd have to ask for some presents for Christmas. Tell me why this is what I'm thinking about when I'm pulling weeds and on long drives. I guess it's because I don't have any drama in my life. There's nothing really to stress about. I'm literally the happiest I've ever been. And I'm like making up weird scenarios, and they're not negative. Nothing's negative. I'm like, oh, okay, so if it was Christmas, I would ask for like stocks and, you know, things to advance my life, but then I'd have to ask for some toys. And luckily for me, I still enjoy toys like Legos and puzzles. So I'd also have to ask for those. But I was just thinking, man, I would do things so differently, because it really is time and experience that makes you smart. Like, yeah, school will teach you things you need to know, except if you're in America. The American school system is just fucked beyond reason. But I'm like, I've lived so much. Obviously, I have so much knowledge. But then would I be a different person than I am today if I didn't have the same childhood? These are the ridiculous thoughts I have. No one can give me answers. This is not something we could ever figure out. But this is constantly something that replays in my head. What if I woke up and I was 16 years old again? And I'd be like, oh, I would know I was gay. But I wouldn't be able to do anything about it. But seriously, if you woke up and you were like 8 years old again, would you be like, fuck it, I'm just going to be a kid again because I hate being an adult? Or would you try and like change little things about your life, but you can't raise suspicion? You're like, okay, what would I change? What would I do different? Like, oh, I would have made sure I took up guitar lessons when I was young, or French lessons or Spanish lessons, and really honed in on that. I would have made sure I cleaned my room because I understand how frustrating it is for my parents. Like, I love thinking about that stuff. I don't know why, because we can't change the past. But I think it's a little nod to how much I've grown and changed and learned, obviously, as an adult. Even if I'm like, oh, if I woke up again and I was in college, you know, what would I do different now that I have this knowledge and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I don't know how we got on that. But that is constantly happening in my head when I'm on long drives or on walks. It's because I have nothing else to focus on. I got no drama. I got no stress. I mean, I've always got some level of stress, but unless I can change it in the moment, I try really hard not to focus on it. So if you ever wondered what's going on in my brain, it's that. Or what would happen if I won a lot of money? All the things I would do. If I won like $400 million, what would be the first thing I do? I love thinking about those things. It's just to pass the time. I could be solving problems or something, coming up with work ideas, but I think it's my way of disconnecting and just living in a fantasy world for an hour. Okay, we'll move on. I just wanted to touch on that, I guess. Let's do what I've learned this week. So, my entire life, I thought you can't sneeze with your eyes open. And I said it the other day on my vlog. You can't sneeze with your eyes open. Your eyes will pop out. I thought this was a fact because this is what I was taught as a child. And everyone said it. And then I said it on my vlog and someone commented, actually, you can sneeze with your eyes open, Rachel. Of course, I was like, okay, they seem confident and they were nice about it. Let me fact check myself here. And I looked into it. You can, in fact, sneeze with your eyes open. What is with the lies we tell children? Why? Why did everyone tell me you gotta close them or your eyes will pop out? And why was I so dumb to think that was feasible? What? Thank you to whoever corrected me. I don't know if you also listen to this podcast, but my golly gee, that was mind-blowing. I learned that as a 34-year-old adult. And someone was like, yeah, I sneeze with my eyes open. And I was like, liar. You don't know things, idiot. Do you not have eyeballs anymore? Nope. They're just living their life. What is wrong? Okay. And then I also learned, guys, this one stressed me the fuck out because Mythbusters did me dirty. I watched on Mythbusters as a child and I took them as fact because they did scientific experiments in front of our eyes and they are Very smart. They're scientists and engineers. They understand how things work, right? So they did an episode on if walking in the rain or running in the rain gets you more wet. Like if you're caught in a rainstorm, should you walk or should you run? They did an experiment and they showed that walking actually gets you less wet and running gets you more wet because you're gathering, I don't know. So I've always been taught, walk in the rain, don't run. And then apparently they retracted that and did another thing because I think it was like they didn't account for rain or something. Not rain. They didn't account for wind. Because if you're walking and there's wind blowing towards you, or if you're running and the wind's blowing with you, those are two different things. And if there's no wind, use your best judgment when in the rain. That's all. Because it's different on the type of rain, on the wind, on the direction. Mythbusters, and everyone was like, yeah, they said they redid it. I didn't see the later seasons. I stopped watching cable. I went to college. You can't expect me to have seen every episode. Actually, I kind of want to rewatch all that because that was a good show, damn it. That was a really good show. It was a science show. It taught us things in an extremely entertaining way. And I am obsessed with that. But they did actual scientific research to do things. And yeah, some of it was like fun and little whatever. It was just, for the dramatics of it. But there was always one really good one in there. And I appreciated that. I love learning in fun ways. Don't we all? Don't we all? It was my type of learning. And then there was one more thing I read. Now, there was a study done, but they said, let's not, it's going to take a minute to get to actual things. But chickens can help if someone is allergic to cats. Now, this is obviously, what? What do you mean? So let me read it. Let me make sure. There was a 26-week study done that was funded by Purina, the cat company, whatever. I don't know. I don't know if it was peer reviewed, but it says that when chickens are exposed to cats, they produce antibodies against FeLD1, which is when people are allergic to cats, they're not allergic to the fur. They're allergic to the saliva in the cat, and the cats lick their fur, and then the fur goes around. So you're actually allergic to cat saliva called FeLD1, okay? So when chickens are exposed to cats, they produce antibodies against the FeLD1, and then they pass that antibody into their eggs. So you're supposed to feed those antibody eggs to a cat. And then the cat's level of allergens go down. Essentially, the cat becomes less allergic to humans. And then it says, it's not a permanent fix, but in parentheses yet. And no, you shouldn't start feeding your cat raw eggs, especially with the bird flu in the picture. But the idea that food could make cats safer for allergic animal lovers is a big shift from the usual focus on treating humans themselves. If it pans out, the research could make life a lot easier and less congested for cat lovers with allergies. So they're still trying to figure out how to do it all, but that's really freaking cool. Again, it's one of those things where it's like, let's not treat the symptoms, let's cure the cause. So instead of everyone wearing bulletproof vests, let's get rid of the bullets, Instead of putting all the women on birth control, let's give everyone vasectomies. You see me? You feel me? I just used fighting words. I just used come at me bro words. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Wait, sorry, this just caught my eye. It's on the same thing. Scientists showed people a completely new color? The fuck? I'm reading this live with you. Guys, we're in this in the moment. Researchers just showed humans a color we are never supposed to see. It's called OLO, O-L-O. It was revealed using a new system called Oz. Okay. Does everyone know that the Oz is not real? That stimulated individual photoreceptor cells in the eyes with lasers. I feel like we're getting into a world that we don't need to be in. I think that's a little much. I think, I'm good with the colors I see. I don't need to mess around with anything. I'm good. Forest green is my current jam. I don't need to see anything else. I'm good here. Thank you, though. All right, before we move on to what pisses me off this week, let's check to see if we have a sponsor for today. Sponsor. Changed it on you. Home Chef. Home Chef is our sponsor for today. With school starting again and schedules filling fast, preparing dinner for the family can feel overwhelming. Even just preparing dinner for yourself. Too much. Can't do it. Home Chef simplifies mealtime with over 35 tasty meals and 18 delightful extras each week, including kid-friendly options for your little ones if you have those, making dinner effortless, nutritious, and family-approved no matter how busy the season gets. Home Chef delivers fresh ingredients and chef-designed recipes conveniently to your doorstep to simplify your cooking experience. Users of leading meal kits have rated Home Chef #1 in quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. And I care about the recipe ease. I get confused very quickly. And Home Chef has over 30 options a week and serves a variety of dietary needs, which I definitely need in my household because based on the month, my girlfriend's eating something different, and I'm always wishy-washy on my dairy. But for a limited time, Home Chef is offering my listeners 50% off and free shipping for your first box, plus free dessert for life. Go to homechef.com/Rachel. That is homechef.com/Rachel for 50% off your first box and free dessert for life. homechef.com/Rachel. But you must be an active subscriber to receive the free dessert. All right, guys. What pisses me off this week is mainly the main focus of this podcast, because I was talking about it with Abby. She went to microwave her food, some leftovers, delicious. We're a leftovers family. We love it. But she brings it back out of the microwave, puts it down, takes a bite, and she goes, too cold. She puts it back in the microwave, heats it up a little bit longer. She pulls it out, too hot. And I said, okay, Goldilocks, you wait a minute. And then I thought, fuck that story. This little girl breaks into a bear's house and then starts judging it all. What? And I said that to Abby. I was like, wait, that was a terrible story. What in the world? And she goes, what was even the moral of that story? Was there one? And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go over this on Rachel Uncensored. I haven't reread this. I haven't looked into it, but I did check, is this a copyrighted story? And they said, no, it's not. Apparently, I'm allowed to read this on here. I did my due diligence. This is a free-for-all story. So, guys, sit down. Pull up a chair. And let's read Goldilocks and the Three Bears together. And then, in my fashion, get really pissed at it. Once upon a time, there were 3 bears who lived together in a house of their own, in a wood. In a wood? The fuck? What? Was that a typo? Doesn't matter. One of them was a little wee bear, and one was a middle-sized bear, and the other was a great big bear. They each had a bowl for their porridge, a little bowl for the little wee bear, and a middle-sized bowl for the middle-sized bear, and a great big bowl for the great big bear. And they each had a chair to sit in, a little chair for the little wee bear, and a middle-sized chair for the middle-sized bear, and a great big chair for the great big bear. They had each a bed to sleep. A little bed for the little wee bear, a middle-sized bed for the middle-sized bear, and a great big bed for the great big bear. One day, also pause, I was always told it was a mama bear, a papa bear, and a baby bear. I just Googled this story, and this is a website that showed it to me. Maybe this is why it's not copyrighted, because there's a bunch of different versions out there. But I'm going to keep going, all right? We got 3 bears, little, medium, big. Here we go. One day, after they had made porridge for their breakfast and poured it into their porridge bowls, they walked out into the woods while the porridge was cooling. Might not burn their mouths by beginning too soon. They were polite, well-brought-up bears. And while they were away, a little girl called Goldilocks, who lived at the other side of the woods, had been sent on an errand by her mother, passed by the house and looked in at the windows. And then she peeped in the keyhole. For she was not at all a well-brought-up little girl, 'cause she was peeping. She was looking in a house that wasn't hers. She was taking a gander at what didn't belong. Then, seeing nobody was in the house, she lifted the latch. The door was not fastened because the bears were good bears who did nobody any harm and never suspected that anybody would harm them. So Goldilocks opened the door and went in, and well pleased was she when she saw the porridge on the table. If she had been a well-brought-up little girl, she would have waited till the bears came home, and then, perhaps, they would have asked her to breakfast, for they were good bears. A little rough or so, as the manner of the bears, but for all that, very good-natured and hospitable. She was an impudent? What does impudent mean? I think this was written a while ago. I'm kind of changing words as I go. Oh, impudent, not showing due respect for another person. Oh, she was rude. She was an impudent, rude little girl, and so she set about helping herself. First, she tasted the porridge of the great big bear, and that was too hot for her. Next, she tasted the porridge of the middle-sized bear, but that was too cold for her. And then she went to the porridge of the little wee bear and tasted it. And that was neither too hot nor too cold, but just right. And she liked it so well that she ate it all up. Every bit. Whoosh. Rude. Then Goldilocks, who was tired, for she had been catching butterflies instead of running on her errands, sat down in the chair of the great big bear, but that was too hard for her. And then she sat down in the chair of the middle-sized bear, and that was too soft for her. But then she sat down in the chair of the little wee bear, and that was neither too hard nor too soft, but just right. So she seated herself in it, and there she sat till the bottom of the chair came out, and down she came, plump onto the ground, and that made her very cross, for she was a bad-tempered little girl. Now, being determined to rest, Goldilocks went upstairs into the bedchambers in which the three bears slept, and first she laid down upon the bed for the great big bear, but that was too high at the head for her. And next she lay down upon the bed of the middle-sized bear, and that was too high at the foot for her. I don't really know what that means. The bed, what? Are they leaned? Are they tilting? I'm so confused. Doesn't matter. And then she lay down upon the bed of the little wee bear, and that was neither too high at the head nor at the foot, but just right. So she covered herself up comfortably and lay there till she fell asleep. What in the white privilege audacity was that? There's still more, obviously. I'm going to read it. But the fuck? What little girl was sent on an errand by her mother, decides to catch butterflies instead, then pass someone's house, take a gander inside, break in, eat their food, break their chair, and then just crawl into bed to take a little nippity nap? What does that? Who does this? And who wrote this? I'm hoping there's like a moral of the story at the end of this. Obviously, it's saying like she is not a good person and the bears are great bears. We're getting that. But geez Louise, you don't just do this. But hey, this is why you always choose the bear. And let's continue. By this time, the three bears thought their porridge would be cool enough for them to eat it properly. So they came home to breakfast. Now, careless Goldilocks had left the spoon of the great big bear standing in his porridge. "Someone has been at my porridge," says the great big bear in his great, rough, gruff voice. Then the middle-sized bear looked at his porridge and saw the spoon was standing in it too. "Someone has been at my porridge," said the middle-sized bear in his middle-sized voice. Then the little wee bear looked at his, and there was a spoon. Oh my God, wait. Is this a gay couple? There were two male bears with a little bear? It's giving gay, and I'm for it. Anyway, sorry. Then the little wee bear looked at his, and there was a spoon in the porridge bowl, but the porridge was all gone. "Somebody's been at my porridge and has eaten it all up," said the little wee bear in his little wee voice. Upon this, the three bears, seeing that someone had entered their house, eaten up the little wee bear's breakfast, began to look around. Now, the careless Goldilocks had not put the hard cushion straight. Now, the careless Goldilocks had not put the hard cushion straight when she rose from the chair of the great big bear. "Someone's been sitting in my chair," said the great big bear in his great rough, gruff voice. And the careless Goldilocks had squatted down the sofa cushion of the middle-sized bear. "Someone's been sitting in my chair," said the middle-sized bear in his middle-sized voice. "Somebody's been sitting in my chair and has sat the bottom through," said the little wee bear in his little wee voice. Then the three bears thought they better make further search in case there was a burglar. So they went upstairs into their bedchamber. Now Goldilocks had pulled the pillow of the great big bear out of its place. "Someone has been lying in my bed," said the great big bear in his great rough, gruff voice. And Goldilocks pulled the bolster of the middle-sized bear out of its place. "Someone's been lying in my bed," said the middle-sized bear in his middle-sized voice. But when the little wee bear came to look at his bed, there was the bolster in its place, and the pillow was in its place upon the bolster. What is a bolster? I don't know what half these words are. And upon the pillow, there was Goldilocks' yellow hair, which was not in its place, for she had no business there. "Someone has been lying in my bed, and here she is still," said the little wee bear in his little wee voice. Now Goldilocks had heard in her sleep the great rough, gruff voice of the great big bear, but she was so fast asleep it was no more to her than the roaring wind or the grumbling of thunder. And she had heard the middle-sized voice of the middle-sized bear, but it was only as if she had heard someone speaking in a dream. But when she heard the little wee voice of the little wee bear, it was so sharp and so shrill. And okay, the judgment is unreal. That it awoken her at once. Up she startled, and when she saw the three bears on the side of the bed, she tumbled herself out at the other and ran to the window. Now the window was open because the bears, like good, tidy bears, as they were, always opened their bedchamber window when they got up in the morning. So naughty, frightened little Goldilocks jumped, and whether she broke her neck in the fall or ran into the woods and was lost there, or found her way out of the woods and got whipped for being oh my God, this is terrible, and got whipped for being a bad girl and playing truant, no one can say. But the three bears never saw anything more of her. Guys, what is that story? And sorry, that was so long. I expected it to be shorter. I remember my parents reading me that book. It didn't end like that in my memory, but they're like, she might have snapped her neck when she fell or got whipped by her mom for not running errands. This was clearly written an extremely long time ago. I'm going to look it up. In 1922, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, originally titled The Story of the Three Bears, published by English Fairy Tales, retold by Flora Annie Steele in 1922, illustrated by Arthur Rackham. We hope you think it's too hot, not too cold, but just right. Guys, what is the point of this story? Why was it told? And how did it become so popular? Everyone knows about Goldilocks. My parents read me a book where it was a family of bears, and at the end, they made friends with her or something like that. But it has it all. Breaking and entering, burglary, breaking other people's belongings, fleeing from the scene of the crime, possibly committing the end of their own life, or being beaten by their mother. What is the dramatics? I am not a fan. I am not a fan of that. But I love that the bears were good bears. That's really great. I just don't see a moral of the story. Is it like, don't be a dick or you might get caught and then die or get in trouble? Is that the moral of it? It just seems like it could have been wrapped up a little bit nicer with the bow at the end, in my personal opinion. I'm looking up what is the moral of the story. The main moral of Goldilocks and the Three Bears is to respect others' properties and boundaries, and to always ask permission before entering someone's home and using their things. I just feel like the ending needed to be a little different, right? Goldilocks trespasses in using the bear's belongings without consent, highlighting that such actions are selfish, rude, and cause harm to others. The story also teaches about importance of respecting personal space and being mindful of how one's actions affect others. Okay, that is a good moral. I just think it was a little too intense, a little brutal, if you ask me. I'm sure that is the reason my parents read me a much nicer one. Oh wait, I found a picture of the one. Is this what I? No, this isn't what I. No, this isn't it. There are so many different versions of this book. And if you have never read this story, you're welcome, and I'm sorry. But if you hadn't read it before, I hope you enjoyed your first reading of it. Oh yeah, if you look it up, people have done this book so many different times. I actually don't know which one it was that my parents read to me. I'm not seeing the cover anywhere. But yeah, that's that. All right, we've got a little time. I'm going to hop onto the comments and go through those real quick. Hopefully I don't hurt my own feelings by doing that, but I feel like I haven't responded to comments in a while or ever on this channel, so I'm going to take a little peek. Jessica Will says, I watch all of your videos. You are my escape from this crazy world. I try to be a little bit of an escape. I want to hit on hard-hitting topics, but sometimes I know, like I always say my 2 cents. Y'all know where I stand on everything, obviously. And this podcast, I'm a little more brutal, but everywhere across my channels, I try to make sure y'all know where I stand on things, politically, morally, religiously. But I do truly try and keep you entertained, because I understand how dark and torturous the world, especially our country right now, is. So I'm glad I could be your escape. You know, we have the privilege of checking out every once in a while, so I'll be your place to check out. But just for a second, then we got to go back to the real world. Susan Anonymous said, I am the same way waking up in the AM, but been like this my whole life. It sucks. You're referring to Abby wakes up and she's already tired. She wakes up exhausted and it pisses her off. If you missed the last episode, I have done that. If I don't get enough sleep, I wake up and I'm like, no, I don't want to open my eyes. They're heavy. All I want is to go back to that sweet, sweet slumber. But once I've gotten enough sleep, if I woke up after a full night's sleep, I'm ready to do the day. I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. But to wake up tired every single day, I feel for y'all. Abby and I keep talking about her doing a sleep study, because I think there's something going on that we could fix, Just popping melatonin, I don't think is the answer. I think there's something going on, and I'm sorry, I just kicked the camera. But I believe that there's always an answer for things. So maybe one day. Dance Dream Queen says, always love Abby content. Yeah, you do. Hopefully we get to see a little bit more of her. Abby and Joy need to take turns on the podcast. They both bring a different element to the podcast with Rachel. Mary Patricia Dorsey 3206. I totally agree. Abby and I have talked about that. I feed off the energy of whoever I'm with. You can see my energies. I feel different when I'm with Abby versus when I'm with Joy. And if you watch my sisters in my podcast, very different. I take on different roles very easily. I'm always who I am, but you can harness one side of yourself more than the other when needed. With Joy's very high energy, screaming, and rants. I just heard a car honk outside. That sounded like a train. That was weird. With Abby, I feel like we're more of like a peaceful, calm conversation. And with my sister, if you watch Sweet and Salty Sisters or listen to it, Sass, as we like to call it, my sister is just a more ADHD mess than me. And it is so funny and entertaining. So I do strongly believe it is a completely different vibe. And Abby and I have talked about that. She goes, I feel like I might not be as entertaining because I'm not as high energy. And I'm like, no, that's just a different type of entertainment. It's still very entertaining. And I think we have good, stimulating conversation. So I'm glad you also see that and agree with it. Miss Dimtube says, I envy your relationship so much. I can't be with the woman I love because of family. Nah, I don't like that. Sorry. But I don't plan on giving up on her. Although I sometimes lose hope. I hate this world. But you guys make me feel hopeful again. Abby, we love seeing you. Never bored. Well, I don't like that you can't be with the person you love. I don't understand. I don't know your situation exactly, but I'm rooting for your happiness, and whatever you deserve, I hope you get. Everyone deserves to be happy. Kelsey Byrne 222 said, is there a reason you guys don't share location? Me and my partner do, and we use it in a healthy manner for really just checking to see if the other is still at work, at an appointment, etc. So we can avoid calling each other inconvenience times, meaning calling each other at inconvenience times, meaning like if I were at the gym in the middle of my workout and my partner calls, I don't really like to talk during that. So my partner can just see where I'm at. Also for safety purposes. So if I ever go somewhere and my partner is not with me, they can see and check on me to ensure my safety. I also share my location with a lot of my friends, again, for safety reasons and just checking in. So I'm totally down for location. So almost all of my friends have my location. I don't give a flying fuck. And I have a lot of my friends' locations. Abby and she's had some issues with sharing locations in previous relationships where it was kind of used in a toxic way and a manipulative way. And we both have the ability to answer the phone call whenever. And so if she needs anything from me, I've always told her, I was like, I'll give you my location whenever. And she's like, no, if I'm not giving you mine, you shouldn't give me yours. We're always together. There's that. Like, I want to say 80% of the day we're together. But she just put that on early. She goes, can we just not share locations? I think if we ever got married or if we ever had kids, that would be a different discussion. But she just asked that really early on in the relationship, and I respected it. And I was like, okay, that's totally fine. If you've got some trauma with it, which it sounds like there's a lot of trauma with it, I don't need it. And it's been 4.5 years, and I've just gotten so used to it. Like, there's never been a time where I'm like, oh, I wish I had her location. I know that it could be convenient being like, oh, I'm trying to surprise her with something. There was one time, our electric car, we both have an app for it. And so there have been times where I've checked to see if she's driving home yet. So I do kind of have that, I guess. And she can do it for me. I don't know if she knows how. But we respond to our texts and phone calls almost immediately. And there's never been an instance where it's been like, see, this wouldn't happen if I had your location or whatever. And there's no trust issues with us. So I do believe it can be, a lot of people do it. I think I only know one couple that doesn't share locations. They're married, and they were just kind of the same thing where they're like, we don't need it. Again, though, if you have kids, I think you 100% should have your location on if you have kids. But it never has been an issue with us. And yeah, there's been a few times where Abby has been like, oh, she'll share her location for the day because she's like, I feel like I'm in a not so safe place, or hey, just come find me when you get here kind of thing. Like if we're at like meeting downtown or something. But yeah, it was just something that she asked could be a thing. And I said, okay. And it hasn't been an issue ever. There's never been a time where I'm like, it's 11 p.m. and she said she's going to be home by 8. Where is she? Kind of thing. But yeah, I totally get a lot of people use it to being like, oh, let me see if they're passing my favorite coffee place, or if they're still at the store, because I want them to get me something else. Or like, oh, let me see if I need to get off the couch because they're going to be home soon kind of thing. I know it's not just used for safety and toxic reasons. I can be just very normal everyday things, but I just got used to not having it, so I'm okay with it. I haven't really thought about it. But I do know 2 of her friends, only 2 people have her location, and they're people I trust and love. And so if I thought something ever happened to her and I couldn't find her, I would just ask them. And that's pretty much it. If I was like, hey, babe, this was a big deal to me, can you give me your location? She would. It's just not a big deal to me. Tracy Bombard says, I watch everything, all channels, tasting videos when I eat lunch so I don't get hungry. Oh my God, you're a genius. Podcasts when I do the dishes, laundry, and vlogs before bed to wind down. LOL. Tracy, thank you for watching everything. I mentioned in the last podcast, I don't know if people watch just one thing of mine or all of them or half of them or what. Because, I'll follow someone on TikTok, but that doesn't mean I'm going to follow them on Instagram and vice versa. Sometimes I try to do both just because to see if they're putting out different content. Also, sometimes I follow content creators that I'm like, what they're doing is working. I got to see what they're doing so I can not mimic their videos, but like mimic their posting schedule and stuff like that. But I always feel bad. It's such a catch-22 because I'll be like, okay, I don't want to keep reiterating myself across all channels because that's going to get really repetitive for the people that do watch them all. But then at the same time, I'll show Blaze every single day in my Snapchats. And then on Instagram, people are like, did you kill Blaze? And I'm like, no, I didn't kill Blaze. He's right there. He's right there. Or I'll explain something in depth on a vlog. And then someone on my main channel will be like, excuse me, why haven't you addressed blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm just here, guys. I'm just going to try. All right. So Tracy, when I do reiterate things and it seems repetitive, I apologize. For those who watch everything and listen to everything, sorry if you're hearing it more than once. But if I don't, sometimes I get yelled at and I just don't know how to please the masses. And I think the answer is I can't. I simply cannot. Oh, Abby just texted me. Dinner is ready. All right. I'm going to go now. I love you guys so much. I'm going to go eat dinner. You beautiful, wonderful people. I hope you enjoyed the reading comments. I can do that more often if you'd like. I think that's a fun little thing. I do it at the end of my vlogs. And I really enjoy that. I like connecting with you guys, hearing your thoughts. I'm here to entertain you. So I want to do that properly. Okay. I'm going to go eat. I don't even know what's for dinner, but I'm very excited to find out. You wonderful, beautiful people. Please subscribe. Leave comments below. I love you. Okay. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Rachel Uncensored, the only place on the internet where you can find the uncensored version of me, Rachel Ballinger. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like, subscribe, or follow, or do whatever this platform tells you to do so that you can get notified every time I post a new episode. Love ya!